Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the LPGA Tour of Korea for our second event of 2023, our third of the season. It brings us north from Jeju for the MEDIHEAL HANKOOKILBO Championship. Several groups teeing off that we will keep a close eye on tonight, including this one at 11:55. Im Ji-ni, Han Shin-sun, and Chae A-Reem all be getting together. 10 minutes later, we saw Chung Yoon-ji, Hong Jung-min, and Chi Han-sol. This about 2 hours ago now, as we get to the penultimate featured group, Imi Jung, Lee Ga-young, and Lee So-mi, followed by Park Ji-young, Lee-won, and Bang Min-ji. If you were to take a snapshot of the superstars of the KLPGA Tour at the minute, it would include each and every one of those three winners. Last year's money leader, last week's winner, and the defending champion all playing this afternoon, this opening round together. Let's head on out to the course. It's Im Ji-ni for birdie. She stood up and didn't really know what to expect from that, but it is an incredible effort to begin the round. That was a lengthy putt from an absurd angle, and she has it go 270 degrees around the rim and pops out. It'll be par for her. Over to 6 with Park Ji-young for birdie. She is at 1 under through 5. Just giving it up at the very end. Missing to the inside. Our money list leader, in 2023, and our defending champion. A 6-shot victory she had in 2022 over Lee Chae-un-2 at 18 under par. To 7, Imi Jung. This was a look for birdie. Always seemed to be two-putt territory. And that certainly seems to be how she is lining it up at the moment. Our leaders early at 5 under. 67 is the score to beat. EA1. Also just tailing away at the very end. Bang Min-ji, wearing the EA1 sand-colored top today. She taps in, and at this part in the round, looking for a few more birdies. She is even through 6 in a tie for 36th position. Lee Ga-young at 7. Just dips to the left at the very end. Speed, I think, would have just been there. It's a good putt. And now EA1, she was at 1 under. Relative to how well she typically putts the ball, that was miles away. "26 players, if you could believe it, of the 120 at the minute, at 1 under par. Imi Jung trying to chase that score. She is at even through 7 as she finishes off that par. Tee shot at 8, the first par 3 we see on the day. Shorter than it had been playing last year. This 8th hole, only 137 meters. It was a 154. You can see that mound just in behind where they had used the teeing ground in the inaugural event of this MEDIHEAL HANKOOKILBO Championship. One of 2 holes that they have changed the yardage on. The other is 9. Actually going the other way, going longer by almost 40 yards for this season, which seems fitting with how well and how long the tour is driving. And Park Ji-young's effort off the tee. And it's probably going to just slip into the rough there on the right side of the fairway. You can tell we are back on the mainland and fairly north relative to where we had been last week at the Lotte Sky Hill Country Club. Grass is just coming back to life. Looks like the fairways and greens are in incredible condition despite the time of year. As we go on to 9, Ha-Min Song, her approach needs a little roll back, not too shabby. Next up, EA1, who made 82% of her fairways last week, outlasting the field, outlasting Mother Nature as well. She has grown into a champion, the maturity consistently on display, despite being just 20 years of age. Mata Som, she was the second-ranked rookie last season, had some struggles in rounds 3 and 4 last year. Tied for second at the minute at 4 under, 1 back with Park Ji-young. She has been soaring to start her round with 4 birdies in her first 5 holes, but she's unable to find the green this time. Curious to see how Bang Min-ji bounces back this week after some difficulties and, quite honestly, some frustrations down on Jeju last week. She had a fantastic final round of 71 to move her into a tie for 26th, but would still finish at plus 10, mainly due to that third round 80. Now Jihan Sol. Slightly downhill, probably a hair inside 10 feet. She had her line. Overhits it, however, and will not be able to progress up the leaderboard on this hole. Stays at 1 under. 59 of the 120 in this event this week at either even or under par. Ha-Min Song, another downhill putt for birdie, but she's got this one. In with the 34. You can tell she's fired up about it. Excuse me, just 1 away from coming in. That 2 under does get her up to being on pace for a 34. 1 bogey so far on the round, but she's putted well as we rejoin Mata Som. It's a fairly conservative green, just needs to get up. And there's that slight downhill at the end. Leave herself with about 9 meters for her par putt. The approach for Bungmin-ji. Oh, that's a lovely backspin. Lands it almost perfectly on the green. Sits up beautifully as she looks for a birdie. Not enough loft, and as a result, no backspin. With a wedge, she's probably hanging down and around Bungmin-ji, but one towards the back third of the green. And Bak Jiyoung somewhere in between the two, everyone's on. Lee Ga-young, look at this roll. She'll get to within 5 feet. Out and pin seeking off the tee on the par 3. Well, we're off to a fast start in round 1. The approach games of several. Top class to start. Jung says, I'll join in on this fray as well. Looking like a fairly easy pin to attack here at 8. J Ream at 9. You can see the pin placement today on Thursday, just in that little valley, the middle of the green. Have a little bit more roll back down as we zoom back over. Let's see the simplest of par putt finishes. The bogey putt, unfortunately for Mata Som, it had been fault free until now. Long way to go. Lots of runway here from the fringe to the pin. Certainly marginal at best had she gone for the pitching wedge instead of the putter there. Dealer's choice at that spot. Nice to have Annalene back on the LPGA Tour of Career, even if it's just a brief spot. One of the best in recent years to compete here. Primarily plying her trade on the LPGA Tour now. Picks up some speed at the end, and for a EA1, about 6 feet for a par. And Jay Reem, that's a lovely birdie. Well, one of the longest of the afternoon thus far, up to a tie for 5th she will go. Very reachable score posted by Ijumi, our leader of 67. We rejoin Bak Jiyoung, and she, almost. Carrying a bit too much speed. Bounces out the back. Not quite there for Imi Jung. And Jin Sun, second birdie since 6. She goes out with the 34, 2 under at the turn. And Bang Min-ji trying to get under par. She's got it this time. And with the cheers still ringing out in the background, Annalene is able to avoid dropping another. Par to keep herself at +1. And an outside look at par. EA1 has left herself with quite a bit of work still. And yet, despite that, she's able to convert. Young just enough to roll it all the way there. Only 2 shots off the lead now. It was a great tee shot to set up that simple birdie in the end. And Bak Jiyoung hangs on at 7 with a par of her own. Last year in her championship winning week, started with a flourish. 65, had a comfortable lead that she would never relinquish. and to within 5. Compare and contrast to the conditions that we saw last week. The wind almost non-existent, 21 degrees, which is even warmer than our final round had been on Sunday. I think it will be something of a welcome warm-up. Here in Yojushi, up in the Gyeonggi-do province. We're all sort of waiting for Bang Min-ji to make her now famous charge up the leaderboard last week. Even at the end of Thursday, we thought, okay, maybe she has a push in her one of these days. And it was progressively downhill over the weekend. Friday 75, Saturday 80. Was able to bounce back slightly with a 1-under round on Sunday to climb up 15 spots on the leaderboard. After all the fanfare, Bang Min-ji is on just below hole high, well off to the right side of the green. Hong Jung-min, oh, nice little kick to the left. Her third on 9 leaves her with about a 7-footer for birdie. And Park Ji-young at 8. Seen some great tee shots here. What can the featured group add to that list? Not quite there either. She's even further out than Bang Min-ji. Not a bad effort from the fairway that time. Well, she struck the ball very well on par 3s last week, but she joins the club of this featured group who can't quite seem to sort out 8. Everyone's outside of 8 or 9 feet. And Matessom, after her birdie to move up, also able to find the green in 3. Sung had been ready to celebrate, but it took off as soon as it left the flat stick. Little left to right for Chung Yoon-ji, just enough. Keeps it on line and up to 1 under. First birdie of the day, she bogeyed 4 as well. Update that scorecard, and she would be 1 under. She takes an extra second to stare at the ball, finish just about identical distance to where she had started that putt. Long way back and most of the way back up the hill towards the pin. These greens have been playing quietly challenging for round one. Birdie for Jihan Sol. Frustrated not to have it on 8. Sticks with it and gets her second on the front 9 at 9. She is 2 under at the turn. Bi, she is the second best rookie out the gates in 2022. Sorry, 2023, excuse me, forget the year for a moment. There's her birdie on number 2, pars since that point.
안녕하세요. 2022년 드림투어 상금왕으로 정규투어에 데뷔하게 된 김서윤입니다.
안녕하세요. 2023년 정규투어에 데뷔하게 된 프로골퍼 김민별입니다.
안녕하세요. 2023년도 루키 황유민입니다.
제 장점은 성격이 차분한 편이어서 시합 때도 차분하게 경기하는 게 제 장점이라고 생각합니다.
저는 코스 공략을 좀 잘하는 편인 것 같아요. 공격해야 될 곳에서 좀 잘 공격하고
제가 자신 있는 것은 퍼팅이 제일 자신 있고
좋아하는 선수는 로리 맥길로이고 그 이유는 너무 멋있고 스윙이 제 스타일이어서
김연경 선수요. 실력은 말할 것도 없고 그분이 가지고 있는 퍼포먼스나 그리고 쇼맨십
NBA 선수였던 분 중에 코비 브라이언트 마음가짐이 굉장히 멋있다고 생각해서 좋아하게 되었고
유민이 언니는 이길 수 있을 것 같습니다. 이번 전지훈련을 같이 가서 유민이 언니를 많이 파악했기 때문입니다.
김민별 프로입니다. 머리도 멀리 가고요. 샷 메이킹도 제가 더 잘하고 최근 경기에서 민별이를 압승했습니다.
둘 다 이길 수 있습니다.
2023
KLPGA는 도전의 무대다.
Well, they are just a handful of some of the rookies we will be keeping a very close eye on in 2023. just trying to discover who might be the next EA1. Hearing from Kim So-yoon 2, Hung Yoo-min, Kim Min-byai, Kim Ga-young, and Chung So-lee, the top 5 rookies through 3 events this season. Our first break of the day, we'll step aside and be back momentarily with more from the MEDIHEAL HANKOOKILBO Championship. And by step away, I clearly meant 5 seconds. That's our typical break routine, but here we go. Park Ji-young. This for birdie, looking a little bit left. That's where it stays. An excellent putt. Just off by the smallest of fractions. Jin-sun, our second on the par 5, or third on the par 5, excuse me, all the way to the green, and even closer than that. What a shot that is. Young, oh, nice kick on to line. Landing and shooting right will stop just up the hill from the pin. And this might go. Just breaking away before the hole for Peng Min-ji. Two-putt par on the par 3. Roar from the patrons, admiring a wonderful approach shot inside of about 4 feet. And the next effort on the par 3 is EA1, this time from 20 feet away, and tries to curl it in, just goes beyond the hole. She is not going to find her birdie. And at the moment, that leaves her at 1 under, nearing the turn. She has that tap in par, and everyone will remain 4 strokes back of Lee Joo-mi heading to the back 9. This time, I promise we'll step aside. More from Peiram when we return. One of the many areas where EA1 was absolutely dominant last week. Our second shots on these par 5s, trying to shape it around the trees, and she does so with an artisan's flair. Leaving herself with a straight shot on 9 as she nears the end of her front 9. Birdie on 7, just the second of the day for Peng Min-ji. Also had one on 2, bogey on 5. That's what has her at 1 under. Into the still winter hibernating rough on the left side of the fairway. 239 out. And unable to stay in the fairway once again. Shaking her head as she walks around. Missed opportunity for Lee Ga-young. Now Kim Min-byul for birdie at 8. Downhill and left to right. Needs to start to move. It does. Just runs out of speed. Jung, great approach and a simple finish. She had to work for that. One of my favorite things anytime we cut to one of her birdie putts is the reaction from the vocal supporter section that she always seems to have. Park Ji-young trying to follow in the sophomore's footsteps. The two most recent winners on the LPGA Tour of Korea. It's a nice shot from her as well. Sung thought she had her birdie at 10. She has it at 11. That putter is red hot. That's why she celebrated a bit prematurely at the last hole. She's just used to everything being knocked down left and right. Off to a great start on this Thursday. And a 10 from near the front of the green, Hong Jung-min. That's a great shot despite not getting all the way down. Went for a little bit more on the par 5. And somehow that ends up pin high. Third from Peng Min-ji, and she's gone rough to rough to rough. Well, this lie shouldn't cause her many, if any, headaches. Just under hit that time. Couple of extra practice swings. Jan Sol to try and find an issue. Still gonna move its way back, was hung up on the crest for a moment. Better from Park Ji-young. On 11, the approach finds pretty well the center of the green. And now EA1 at 9. Didn't leave herself with much to do here on the par 5, and it lets her attack freely. Not the kick she was anticipating, but birdie stays on the deck. Jay Ream towards the right on 11. Roll back towards the middle. Jung patiently waiting and going through the motions before this next shot. Still lots of green to make up, as we can see. Minji, we mentioned she was pin high and was just about able to finish out from the fairway. From the rough, excuse me, to the left side of the green, and there is her tap it on the other side to finish out. Now Che Ream needed that to slow down. Never really gave the break a chance to come into play. Ige Young, her second at 10, is also fairly short. One of the longer par fours, you get that stretch, 6, 7, both shorter. Of course, the 137 meter par 3 at 8 gets a bit longer to start the West course. And now Park Ji-young. There it goes. It was straight as an arrow for the longest time. Looked like it was going to break at the perfect time, but maybe just a touch too early as that stays to the right, forces her to tap in for par.
됐다. 아. 네, 됐다.
In a run of pars, it seems, at the moment. Plenty of fans prior to her win last week, but surely that number has grown significantly. Another near perfect front nine, 2 birdies, including one at the 9th. She makes the turn at 2 under and 3 back. Wouldn't surprise any to see her in the hunt once again. The run of form she's been on, the off-season training that she put in is paying off. On to 10. Couple of lengthy putts for birdie. Mi Jung is the first. Oh, the weight was perfect. The speed with which she struck that ball, just narrowly missing to the right. It's a tall task from the fringe for Annaline. About 4 feet of work still to conquer. From short on 12 to nice and close for Ha-min Sung. Always seemed to be a 2-putt situation, and Young finishes out on that exact path. That's her par. Look at 10, the first hole on the west course, the back 9, 346 meters. This par 4. Over the water into the relatively narrow fairway. 85 meters and 125, that's our average landing zone. You do have that bunker to the left. 250 meters from the tee would require the wind to be blowing just the right way. Then on the approach, 2 more sand traps, one on the right before the green, one on the left just on the other side of the flag. And with this drone shot, the pin's in pretty close to the perfect position, just 10 yards from the back and 7 yards from the left side. Fairly conservative here in round 1. The MEDIHEAL Dream with target in the fairway. Pang Min-ji just short and left of that. It's a much better drive though than what she had struck on the hole prior. There's the ear-to-ear smile for Aline as she finishes with a short par. One of the MEDIHEAL sponsored athletes like Yoo So-yeon in the field this week. Lee Dae-yeon another as well. Kim Jae-hee and An Ji-hyun. Jian at 10, her opening drive just to the right of the fairway. That's EA1, the only one on the target. Recovery from the rookie Kim In-bi. Aside from her birdie, I mean, Sung has had a couple near misses where she thought they were on. Yoon-ji, 103 out at 11. Could hear the request for sit. On the back right there, and a few difficulties in being directly towards it.
따라가지 말고 확실히 그냥 우측에 잡았다. 플레이하겠습니다.
Online and about 8 yards beyond for Pang Min-ji. She's playing this 10th much better than she was working her way through the fairways at the last, or at least trying to work through the fairways, spending a lot of time in the rough. Park Ji-young on the green technically, but leaving a bit to be desired. Yeah, one only 126 meters out. Just end up as closest to the pin. Chang Yu-ji disappointed in the line she took on the inside of this green. Look at the leaderboard. Lee Joo-mi is 67 in the opening round. Park Young one shot higher to 68. Great bounce back for her after her tough Saturday last week. Lee Ga-young still with half a round to play, only one back. Ha-min Sung only two back. Lots of movement to be had in this opening round of the MEDIHEAL HANKOOKILBO Championship from Peiram, and more on the other side of this break. Welcome back, Park Ji-young at 10. The first of the birdie efforts. Not a bad try. Just couldn't seem to find the birdies consistently in the first 9 holes. Starts with a par. Seems like despite the practice round yesterday, first round today, this will be more of the feeling out round of the week. We'll start to see some lower scores tomorrow. Just jostling for position in the interim as Imi Jung's approach finds the green. Returning with our featured group EA1, awfully close to a birdie. Would have moved her within 2 strokes of the lead, but she will stay at 2 under, heading to 11. Lee Ga-young very much in the hunt, just 1 back. Her approach on 11, where EA1 and company are headed, finds the green, also relatively shallow. Minji, this looks like it's got a chance. Still some troubles pin seeking, and as good as that putter has been for Ha-Min Sung, she's going to ask a lot of it next. 11 is where we are headed. The second of 2 par 4s in a row to begin this back 9, 333 meters, 13 meters shorter than the last. You can see the long perimeter sand trap to the left of the fairway just before the water. Relatively narrow, this dogleg left before it turns. 245 meters from the tee is the end of that bunker. And then after the turn, well, there are 3 more. Something of a long one. P-shaped on the left, pot bunkers on either side towards the back, and all the way to the back is where we find the pin today. 38 of the 47 yards deep, and only 4 yards from the left side of the green. Is going to require quite some power on the second shot. Jin Sun, her 4th shot on 12. Long way to make up. It's on line. Perfectly accurate. It's been a long time coming. Able to jar it, and with that, also moving up the leaderboard, 3 under now, 2 back of the lead. This is Imi Jung. It's always going to be an outside look. Birdie's at 9 and 5. Keeping her very much in that chase pack. And Jae Reem drops her head in despair. She thought she had it. Tricky one needing to come back up the hill. And now we got Young. Starts the dive left a bit early and runs out of speed. Half decent try. Here one to the middle of the green. Her middle to long range putts have been fairly consistent again this week as they had been last. We've seen the struggles to get to this back right side of the green on 11. Park Ji-young takes that scouting report and rips it to shreds. She plays it wonderfully as we go to 13. It's going to drop downhill and change course to the left at the end. Wow, great putt. One of the longer ones we've seen today. Nicely played. Our guy on the sweater vest seems to be in fashion this week amongst the tour. Chung Yoon-ji, now he's still me. The closest to the top of the leaderboard with Lee Jo-mi of those still on course. Lee Ga-young, Han Shin-sun, Han Min-sung, each within 1, 2, and 3 strokes respectively. 5 under, and that is the score to beat posted earlier in the day. This opening round of the 2023 MEDIHEAL HANKOOKILBO Championship from Peiram. how many times over the years have we seen the magic from Peng Min-ji's putter? Still in early season form, shaking off some of the rust. Always an outside chance, 2-putt par. Kim Min-biel on 10, rolling that within 4 or 5 feet. Another example of how the early season rough is a lot more forgiving than perhaps it might be later in the year. No EA1. 3 back, trying to move within 2. Oh, that form has carried over from last week. Just about to say, we're not used to seeing her chasing leads. We're used to seeing her defend them. She didn't make the schedule. She's going to be close to the top by the end of the day once again. Just that an echelon that many aspire to but never see. EA1 is in it right now. Han Chin-sun from the fairway on the par 4, 126 meters, probably a 9. It's a helpful kick to the right. Stop about 7 feet away. Great approach. Park Ji-young with that swagger after her 3rd birdie of the day. To 2 under she goes. Well, our first slam dunk eagle from J.A. Ream in a round that certainly needed the boost after 3 bogeys. That's a good way to get yourself out of the rut. The group's walking ahead, or the members of the group walking ahead, are seemingly enjoying it more than she is. Seen a couple almost irrationally calm responses to eagles. As we go to 14, Ha-min Sung grabbing a 7-iron for her tee shot. 153 meter par 3, looking to be around the top of the bunker on the right side. The yardage close to it. We'll roll onto the fringe.
공개탑 왼쪽 라인으로 떨어진다고 생각하거든요. 핀 우측은 이렇게 흘러. 네. 그린 전체가 슬라이스 그린입니다.
The swing just seems to become more and more fluid every week. Not that she didn't drive the ball well last year, but she's just unlocked another level. She continues to grow and mature into a professional. Added the power and hasn't lost much accuracy as a result. See more nice playing from the rookie. Great approach, and a short finish for Kim Min-biel. It's the best walk in golf, maybe other than 18, the final round when you're in the lead. You know the putter's going to stay in your bag. Look down. Thank you very much. Well, here's the replay we've been after. It's actually just off the fairway into a very kind piece of rough. Bounced onto the hill, and the rest is history. Just enough to get there. It's actually the fourth eagle today that we've seen. Took us to Friday to find any yesterday, but So-Yeon Jung had one at 2. Son Ye-bin also had one in the amateur. Park Hae-ji had one at 9. Simi Jung over at the par 5. Tanjin Sun for birdie. And it's just going to move too much to the left. Two-putt par that keeps her in a tie for 4th. Needed to hit the brakes on 12 and never did. No backspin at all, and that's still rolling down the hill towards the water at the back of 12. Trying to figure out where Peng Min-ji had gone. There it is, all the way down the fairway. A heck of a second shot. Let's see if EA1 can follow suit. It's a little bit off to the right, but similar yardage. That'll play like the fairway anyways for her. Leaves Park Ji-young as the last in the group to play her second, and she will line up pretty well beside EA1. Simi Jung at 12 for birdie. It's the second in the last few holes we've seen from her. Almost so close. A little frustrated as she hardly slows up before tapping it in. Check back in with Chung Yoon-ji on 13. Oh, right up on a line. Should absolutely capitalize on that birdie. It's a great approach shot from fairway back in the fairway, I might add. And Anna Lee, a little bit extra pace to get up the hill. Make Makes no mistake. Up to even she goes. First
Oh,
birdie
맞아.
since the second hole. She had that back-to-back spell 3 and 4.
어.
She returns to even.
금방 가운데 사람 조금 더 있다가요.
You can see just how wide of a green it is at 11. KLPGA gets up, but finds the center. Needed to be right. And having so knows it's going to go downhill as soon as it meets the green. Needed a little bit more power than that. It's a tough one to leave it short. Well, we'll see how this plays for EA1. Park Ji-young will try an identical shot shortly. 95 meters to the hole for last week's champion. We don't often see her miss short. Generally, it's a case of too much power and knowing that if you club down, you're going to be at the same spot just on the other side of the green. And it's tough to just leave 10 or 15% off those swings when it's working so well. You don't want to mess with a good thing. Let's see how Park Ji-young fares. Much more like it. About 7 feet to its left. Peng Min-ji, who'd been the only one of the three to find the fairway, has a simple 85-meter look up. This is right in her wheelhouse. And she shows why. Check that out. Nearly dropping in another eagle. Thought it'd be good, but that was great. Far from a run-of-the-mill shot either. Ball slightly elevated in her stance. Couldn't ask for much more than that. Ji-hyun Seol now for birdie here. Moves back to the left and right on line. She's been waiting for that one for a while. It's her third birdie of the day, first since the 9th hole. Moves inside the top 10. And after Chung Yoon-ji and her wonderful approach to within 6 feet,
나이스 버디.
able to reap what she's sown. Another brilliant round. The one bogey came at 4. And we're not quite going to see her on page 1 of the leaderboard, but she's certainly making some moves. If you were to dissect Lee Joo-mi's first round, birdie at 2. That was it for the East Course, but my goodness, the West. Birdies 11, 12, 14, 16, and 17, and if not for a bogey at the last, well, she'd have a 2-stroke advantage over Lee Ga-young and Park Young-young. But her 5 under, that's the threshold so far in this opening round, about halfway through. More from Pei Ram shortly. Welcome back, EA1, the first of the long-range birdie putts. Slips it in close, has her foot-long par. Navigating through the par fours to start this back nine with pars. To 14, Hanchin Sun. Lengthy, lengthy downhill. Would have been for a birdie. Leaves it a touch short, has a 5-footer for par.
28에 45?
Similar length for Kim Min-byul. Yes, birdie. Back to back now from the rookie with a fault-free round, her fourth. She and Lee Ga-young at the same score and both without a bogey. Park Ji-young for birdie, just too quick. Little slower on that line and it would have dropped, but it skitters right over top of the yearning hole. Amy Jung here, went under at 13 from the fairway. Oh, it's gonna roll up lovely. Inches away from another eagle here. Just hang out before it breaks. Needed to delay a couple seconds longer. Park Ji-young's par, uneventful as it should be. Remains as one of the 14 players at 2 under. It's the frustrating part of playing well but not great. You know, I'm so close, but it just seems like that consistent run of birdies is elusive. Bang Min-ji is always going to make that birdie after her best shot of the day to set it up. She and Park Ji-young at 2 under, EA1 in that group at 3 under. Lee Ga-young had soared it to the other side of the green. This is her chip up, still left a little bit out there. The easiest birdie putt she'll have all day, Amy Jung. Third birdie of the day and 2 under, becoming quite the popular score. So you see Chi Han Sol, 7 iron on 14. Has the par 3 here and 16. Needs to hit the brakes. I think, earlier reactions to proclaim that great shot. Not a poor shot, but a little bit deeper on the green. It rolls. And just enough. Broke just on the right time for Lee Ga-young to avoid her first bogey of the day. 4 consecutive pars now as she stays in that tie for second. Pang Min-ji, let's see if she can turn that birdie into a little bit of confidence here. She's a player that genuinely and generally thrives on it. Next up, EA1. One of her rare fairway misses today. Only marginally, about 3 feet into the rough. And just to the right. Callaway had eyes for something else other than a birdie. That means Sung will tap it in. Also, 3 birdies from 3 for her. 4 birdies from 4 now, excuse me. You can make that on the par 4. And the last in our featured group, Park Ji-young. She clears the fairway altogether. Not any movement at all. Could have used a bit of a draw. Finds the rough. And the shot so far on this 509-meter fairway, somehow there are 2 holes longer than it, despite it being half a kilometer long, of a beautiful walk through the Gyeonggi-do Mountains. The third, Kim In-bial. Skitters to a stop about 15 feet past the hole, despite landing it almost level with the flagstick. Ji Han-sol will be next, but Chung Yoon-ji goes first. Downhill starts to move back online. Or attempted birdie. 2 feet still remain. Not only finding the rough, but rolling into the fairway bunker. No problems for Park Ji-young typically. Let's see if that holds true. It does, to the end of the fairway just before the rough that separates it in the green. Jian-Seo's had plenty of time to prepare for this putt. Doesn't need much to get it started. Here it goes. Starts too early. Well, up to hole high on 13. Good effort, great effort even from the rough.
Go.
Kim Min-jae for a share of the lead. Oh, so close. Oh, right at it again, nearly another 13. Well, we thought she might put together a little run of confidence after her approach at the last, and she proves that point, highlights it, underscores, adds an exclamation mark. A wild one, or if it lands 6 inches closer to the front than it had, it's probably in the hole. Peng Min-ji might have taken her 5 rounds into the 2023 calendar year, but it looks like she's arrived. On the par 3, Mi Jung. Hole high, center of the green. Not her best, lots to do there.
안 나왔어. 네, 하겠습니다.
Next up, Lee Ga-young, and he's cooling off a little bit. He can play par golf all the way in, probably still be one back at the lead. Just not quite attacking the pins with as much vim and vinegar as earlier in the round. Clever touch from the end of the fairway for Park Ji-young at 13. Dropping that in. That's an expert approach shot. See just how downhill this final par 3 is. I mean, Song has earned that smile. one. It's overhit and slightly misread. Soared past the left side of the hole. Not used to seeing EA1 in this little rut. Putter, one of her best clubs last week, just hasn't been able to maintain that same level of shot making. Park Ji-young, oh, that broke halfway through the putt. Looked like she was going to be able to recover after finding the sand. Somehow still put together a birdie, but just catches the lip. I'll have to settle for a par. And now Hamin Song has made her way downhill from the teeing ground. And that just starts to move out early. That'll be 5 pars since her birdie at number 10. She's so close to the top, but in the last 45 minutes or so hasn't been able to come up with those clutch putts. Lee Ga-young, long downhill as well. Hangs this one just short. Back to back. It was almost a certainty. And look at that, Pang Min-ji in the top 5. Scratch your eyes and you could swear it was the summer of 22. Jung, her short putt to finish. Anna Lean and Lee Ga-young standing by. Go back to Han Jin-sun. Well, she is leaving a lot of hope in the hands of gravity, Han Jin-sun. Meanders its way down, but still about 8 feet short. Lee Ga-young still looking for her first birdie of the back 9. Bang Min-ji's tee off at the par 3, the first of the back 9. Inching towards the home stretch with 5 holes to play. EA1, one of her 3 birdies today came at the par 3 third. Ironically, she has a birdie on a par 3, a par 4, and a par 5 today, but no doubles. That's way better. Just needs to hit the brakes. And that's probably just outside of birdie range. Well, she's got a lot of company. At her 2-under score, we have 13 players at that mark. I'm just chasing her, excuse me, at 2-under. EA1, Peng Min-ji, Han Chin-sun, Ha-min Sung. Those are those. At 3-under, Kim Min-bai, Lee Ga-young, Park Young-kyung, 4-under. Our leader remains as it did 2 hours ago. Lee Ju-mi with a 5-under, 67. Stick with us. We'll be back to the MEDIHEAL HANKOOKILBO Championship in just a few moments. It's a disappointing 2-putt for Hanshin's son. So we find Park Ji-young hole high, but in the rough on 14. She went right at the hole, not the shot selection I was necessarily expecting from her. Thought there'd be a bit more loft than that. On to 13, Kim Min-bi. Catches a lovely spot on this green and rolls into the right, closer to the hole. And EA1 making her way down the hill back towards the hole. Started this more to the outside, and this is puzzling because we've seen a few that kick away. This was filled with no movement whatsoever. Straight downhill. Would have sworn that that was the perfect starting point for that putt, but it does require a second as she pars the 14th. Chien Sol buried in the rough on 15. Catches it like a peach. And it's going to hit that downhill and watch this thing come back. Nearly gets to the shadow of the flag, and we'll have slight left to right downhill putt for a birdie. Great recovery back. Bang Min-ji began the walk a little early, knowing that she'd need that second little tap at the putter. Par for her as well at 14. (16) Hanshin's son. Final par 3 of the round. Just onto the front, over the rough, and in towards the flag. Kim Min-bi, nicely done. So she becomes our co-leader, the first that we've seen in the 2 hours and change we've been on air to reach the top. Tell you, these young competitors are really making some noise in the early stages of the season. Park Ji-young, after leaving herself with about 10 feet, trying to go up and down from the rough, is going to bogey. And now back to back after not having a single blue square on her scorecard since the 4th hole. Drops her back down into a tie for 18th position. section of rough on 17 is becoming a popular tourist destination. And she uses every millimeter of the green. Can't stay on top. It is not forgiving at the back there. There is no rough to slow you down. If you're long, you're down the hill. Ji Hen Sol can't quite buy a break in this first round. Not long removed from her birdie at 13. Deflating 2 putts into the final few holes of her round. Tricky pin placement here on the par 3 in round 1. Because you want to go right at the pin, but there's not much wiggle room on that right side. We find Hamin Song down the hill on 17. The pitch to get back. Pretty good up. Let's see if she can get down for her par.
많이 보면 볼 하나. 사실상 볼 하나도 좀 많긴 해. 포트가 없어가지고.
Ji smashing the face of the putter in frustration as she watches that dive away to the inside. First bogey since the 4th hole, back down to 1 under. That one was well within her grasp. Amy Jung, 15, finds the rough, bounces and rolls to the other side. Iga Young, her approach on 15, and her time on the green is short-lived as she rolls to the back. A 372-meter par 4, tied with number 4 for the longest par 4 on the course. Pretty instantaneous. Dogleg to the right's going to require a clever drive to fade around the trees and find that first stretch of fairway. Pause here and show you 195 meters from the tee is the start of that bunker on the left side. Fairway from there, it narrows, and this is where things get a little bit interesting. This fairway stays fairly narrow all the way down. There's the bunker perfectly in the middle to claim any under-hit approach shots. One of the reasons why you don't want to leave the drives shallow here on 15. The pin today was at the back towards that little valley between front and back right sides, 6 yards from the fringe, just over that sand trap as we see Peng Minji preparing to hit her drive. Generally when the driver goes for her, it's a sign that everything isn't simpatico, averaging 233 yards per drive. Fairways in regulation through the first 2 events of the season have been fine. Greens in regulation, though, only 2/3. She's playing much better. Her approach game this opening round Thursday. Yeah, one, she's next. And while it's not tall, thick grass that's impossible to play out of, it definitely absorbs the speed like a sponge. Hard to land and kick back into the fairway this early in the year, and we can see in the drone shots that preview the holes what this course will look like in about 2 months. Lush green everywhere. Min Song continues her steady round on pace for a 69 in this first round as she heads to the 18th tee. Back to 14. Just a little up, that's what we were expecting from Park Ji-young. It's probably what she would have liked to have played. Should have no trouble getting down from there.
터지겠다. 이것도 좀 세워 들어가자.
그러니까 많이 가야 돼.
넓게 생각하고 이렇게. 네, 알겠습니다. 멈춰주세요.
Young the long way back from the rough behind the green. About a 4-footer will be all that remains. Mi Jung looking to get to 3 under. Narrowly missing to the outside, tap in par. Still inside the top 10. Up and down uneventfully for our co-leader, Kim Min-bi. Annalene, nicely done. Up and down return to the LPGA Tour of Korea. 3 birdies, 3 bogeys, and 3 holes to play. Try and get a little bit closer to the top.
성주 생각하면 돼. 실례하겠습니다.
Oh, 270 degrees around the hole and popping back out on a 4-footer. One of the rare missteps for Lee Ga-young on the day. In fact, it's her only bogey. It took her 15 holes to drop a stroke. Slides her to 2 strokes back at the lead once again. Park Ji-young, the shot tracer, showing that it looks decent. And as it arrives on the green, decent is maybe a little bit generous. It's on the green, but that is not going to be simple. Camera doesn't do justice how much it drops in just before the rough. She had been keeping up with the group mate shot for shot until those back-to-back bogeys. EA1 is able to reach. A little bit of a rollback. Not a simple putt, but one she can have. Bungmin-ji, see what you can do from the fairway. She's had some success the past few holes, and somehow, despite being the closest to, is the only one not on the green. The change at the top is Kim Min-bi moving into a share of the lead with Lee Joo-mi. See a T1 for the first time. That leaves Park Young-kyung all alone in the third. Bungmin-ji has dropped a couple spots. Lee Ga-young bogeying to get to 3 under as well. It is 4:23 local time here in Icheonji, Gyeonggi-do Province for round 1, the MEDIHEAL HANKOOKILBO Championship. We will take a break and be back on the other side with more from the Payram Club. One of our first looks at 18 on the afternoon. Features a wonderful approach shot as we see Park Ji-young. She will end up right beside her group mate. Pushing it to the outside right on her putt for birdie as we go to 16 next with Imi Jung. 7-iron she pulls. This 170-meter par 3. It is the longest of the quartet. She is just safely over the water, but not much more than that. Last chance for a bird. Come down to the putter of EA1. It's an opportunity to move within one level with Park Young. Not quite gonna have the speed to get all the way there. Should be 3 tap-in pars. Rejoin Hamin Song from the fairway. Nicely up. That is 2 great approach shots on the final hole of the day. And on 16, it is another briefly spent time on the green. Still have the option to putt up from that part of the fringe. Here's Park Ji-young. Uneventful as it should be. Stays it even. 3 holes to play.
하겠습니다.
One of these days, this announcer will learn his lesson. 3 tap-in pars should be on the horizon. Easier said than done, as evident by one of the best in the world. Only her 2nd bogey of the day, one she'd certainly like to have back. Han Jin's son trying to move up into a tie for 4th position. It's on its way, just a bit too much speed at the end. Sunghoon for birdie at 18, yes. Nice way to finish the round. 2 bogeys, 3 birds on the day. She finishes day 1 in a tie for 16th. Exhale. Frustration and disbelief from the crowd.
왼쪽이라도 괜찮아. 좀 다 들어가.
Two putts for Imi Jung. herself up for the final few holes of the day as Hunching Sun. Oh, another short par miss. Putters have gone ice cold in the home stretch here. Wanted it all and will likely have to settle for a par. I mean, Sung had that too. And with a 68. Left a few strokes out there today, but still a solid round. Out with the 34, in with a 35, just couldn't find a couple of extra birdies on the way in. He is 2 back after round 1. Final par 3 of the day for featured group EA1, first to tee off. Wanted to be on the left side of the green. She finds the right. Flashback to last week. Kim Chae-hee on, excuse me, last year on 16. It's been a minute since we've seen those graphics. This is how you do it here at 16. Doesn't matter if it's your first hole in one, if it's your fifth. When there's a Maserati on the line, you're going to elicit that reaction every single time. Maserati GT and a scorecard that you probably want to hang on to by the end of the round. And then here we go today. Could you do it again? Surely. Let's go right, one more look at it. So that's how it's done. Stay left. Let gravity do the rest of the work. It's a Mercedes-Benz in 2023 up for grabs. She is the only one realistically in birdie contention. But no aces out of the featured group today. No aces from anyone in the 120 player field at this point. They make their walk down the hill beyond the water. It's a big money tournament, especially this early in the year. Get to see a continued investment in the tour and women's sports in general. 1 billion won up for grabs. That is a mega boost from last year, and we do have some big money tournaments in 2023. It's definitely a nice carrot for the field. Just the second ever playing of this tournament. Park Ji-young, the winner of the inaugural event last season, and doing so in splendid fashion.
많이는 안 내려온 것 같아요.
Over the rough, over the bunker. We'll stop up about About 7 feet out. It's a great approach shot. Certainly playing like a co-leader, unfazed by where she is. Not showing any nerves. It's a long 4 rounds, as we were reminded last week. This is 17. 358 meters is the distance of this par 4. Another dog leg to the right. Fairly welcoming, wide open fairway to try and attack. And as is something of a calling card on this hole, those fairway bunkers. There's a few courses that we've become accustomed to. Sometimes it's a tree in the middle of the fairway, sometimes it's 1 or 2 bunkers, but they never seem to be as troublesome as they can often be. And then over one more wide trap up onto the green, and 25 yards from where the rake is, and 8 yards from the left, just as it narrows. Yiga Young will be the first to make her drive. Absolutely crushed. Lots of loft on it. And just going to avoid the sprinkler head. She'll get some free relief from that. Last year's champion, Park Ji-young. Little short game play. Another slightly puzzling one. Last time she made an effort from off the green. It had too much speed. This time, not nearly enough. Lands on the putting surface, and it's a good representation of just how soft these greens are playing, absorbing all of that speed almost immediately. Jung showing a touch of frustration as she finds the rough to the left of the fairway. Yiga Young from a similar thick stretch of rough. Down onto the green, about 15 feet past the hole. EA1 gets it close. We'll have that remaining for par. Kim Yoon-bi takes the outright lead, her 4th birdie on the back 9. I mean, she is, the level that she has been able to sustain today is impressive for someone in their rookie season here. Not too high, not too low, and just slowly picking players off. Now Peng Min-ji trying to get that birdie back. There's the break at the end. Oh, yes, it'll go. She had already given up on it. I think everyone watching had done the same, but yes, scratch that bogey off at 15, back up to 3 under. Even she, who has achieved and seen just about everything, was wondering how in the world. Okay, not a bad putt. It's close. Just, yeah, I'll walk it in. Oh, hang on a second. So we're time away from the top 5 was short-lived. She's back level with Hamin Sung, Lee Ga-young, EA1, and No Sung-yi. EA1 has about a 6-footer to keep herself level with that aforementioned group of players. And par it is. At number 16, 2 holes to play for the featured group left in the day. EA1, she might not get all the way to the top of the leaderboard, but she will be firmly fixed in the hunt. One of the things that really buoyed her to a win last week was the early tee time on Friday, which they'll have again. Gives us a good variety of the players that we see on our side of the broadcast when they do it. But also, if there's any nasty weather in the forecast for later in the day, you don't mind getting out early and in front of it. And unlike last week, as Park Ji-young rolls in her par, the nastier of the weather is saved for the weekend. Obviously, a very nice day today. It'll be broken skies tomorrow, and then some rain on Saturday and plenty of it on Sunday. And she was not quite reacting until she heard the fans behind the 18th green come to full voice, celebrating a great Amy Jung blasting it out of the sand. Couldn't quite slow it up in time. Seven iron for Kim Yoon-bi at 16. Well, she certainly went out the pin. 3 pars in. She's probably still the clubhouse leader at the end of day number 1. And now Han-Jin Sun cooled off down the stretch. only at 1 under, but that's a lovely setup on 18 for a birdie. Now Ega Young on 17 for birdie, breaks a bit too early for her. Pungmin-ji, tee shot on 17. Some movement, some shaping to the left on that drive when it could have gone the other way. EA1 will once again find the rough penultimate tee shot of the day. That's precisely how you want to play it. Pungmin-ji with the best drive of the lot, 2 of the 3 in the fairway on this final par 4 of the day. 218. And there's the birdie for Hanshin Sun, a 70 in round 1. See bogeys at 15 and 17, birdies the last. This is a lengthy par save for Amy Jung. Needed that extra speed to get uphill. Makes it all the worst when you need that speed and it sends you beyond. Be another drop as she has had a better start to her tournament this week than last. But still not at 100% on every aspect of the game. Jay Ream, she had her eagle at 13. She nearly had another at 18. Rolls in a birdie. And bogey confirmed down to 1 under. Will go Amy Jung. That is tie for 15th. Mika Young on 17 has her par saved. Some big time names at that score today. Park Ji-young gets up. She gonna be able to crest that second spot? Nope. We'll stop right there. For those curious, we saw Chanana unfortunately withdraw last week. She is, just laboring around the course again, unfortunately. Teed off at the 10th. She has 3 double bogeys or worse today. Double at 16, double at 18. She had a 5 over first hole, excuse me, on the par 4. Put it in the water twice off the tee. Down, tied for the highest score of the day, unfortunately, for Chanana. E1 is 143 meters out. It's not really a question of can she reach, but where might it stop? Doesn't look particularly thrilled with it, and that's why. There is a bunker in that environment. Wouldn't be surprised if she's found it. Playing aggressive, trying to go right over top of it. Try and set up a birdie despite not her best tee shot, and might be an impromptu trip to the beach. Kim Bi with 3 holes to try and pad the lead. My goodness. The putter is absolutely working wonders for her. 7 under now, her 4th birdie of the back 9, and in complete and utter cruise control. And even a rare smile out of her. Allows herself to enjoy the moment. Caddy's been beaming pretty well for the last 4 hours. Rightfully so. Team is certainly playing generous, with it being a long par 5, allowing for plenty of pinpoint approaches like the one we just saw from Chihan Sol. Amy Jung's final drive of the day. Well, as the bottom half of EA1 disappears, as she descends into the sand, let's see how she manages to get out of this bunker. There she goes up, catches the downhill. Not quite the speed she needed. Not a bad up though. We'll see if she can convert and finalize that sand save. Peng Min-ji using the fringe like A pro. Not only getting it online, but taking a lot of the sting out of that effort. Leaves herself about 4 feet shy. Over the creek, over the bridge, down to the right side of the fairway from Amy Jung. Looking down at that scorecard and seeing a bogey or two more than she wanted to see today. And on the other side of that fairway into the second cut goes Lee Ga-young. Park Ji-young, wonderful effort. Back to 18, Jung Yoon Ji for a round of 70. There it goes. A little bit too late. Her par in a round of 71, tied for 16th. Just couldn't find the birdies on the back nine. Oh, nice for the Bridgestone ball that belongs to EA1. It was a 65 for her last week. That buoyed her to the top of the leaderboard. Was just able to maintain from there. Soul, and that's celebratory, but also relief, all in one. Birdie to end the day. So 2 under goes Chi-Hun Sol. EA1 is able to stay 1 shot clear of those 9 players with her par. Bang Min-ji, excuse me. We'll figure those fonts out eventually, promise. Park Ji-young walks hers in as well. We are headed to 18 with our featured group, and each and every member arriving with a fair bit of confidence. Annalene, one final hole to try and get back to even. It's 124 meters out, her third here at 18. Over the sand and trying to land in a very narrow stretch to keep her on the right side. Be a lengthy birdie, but one that would move her closer to the top 20. Amy Jung, that's more like it. Ball can sit right there. You go through her scorecard today. 3 birdies, 2 bogeys. Only the one on the back 9, however, which admittedly the West course has been the more difficult of the two. Yeah, Young wins the unofficial closest to the pin contest. Be about 7 feet for her birdie. Approach shot on 17 for our leader. 2-stroke cushion at the moment. She's made longer putts than that today. Anything from here really just a bonus with how well she's played thus far. G gets the party started on 18. Just driven the ball wonderfully today. Hardly a mistake with driver. Back to 16. Slight downhill putt as Yu So-yeon 2 is unable to secure a par. Yeah, one's turn with the big stick. Everyone is away well on 18. This 18th green is where they're headed. That is where Amy Jung is. It's headed right. There's one final chance for birdie today. Not going to waste time marking and realigning. We just finished with her 71st shot on this Thursday. 1 under as a share of 18th. Now Yu So-yeon 2 for her bogey. Back to 18. Annalene for a round of 72. odds stacked against her on this putt, and despite that, nearly strokes that with a wand. But it will be a 73. Just outside of the top 50, and her return to the LPGA Tour of Korea. Had been a regular in 2021, spent most of her time last year on the LPGA Tour. And Lee Ga-young can move into a tie for third again. She knew pretty quick. Can't find many faults in her round. A one bogey at 15. Otherwise, near perfect today. 69 in the opening round, like Ha-min Sung. There are a lot of very impressive things about this round. One of them is the fact she is just one of 3 players at the moment without a bogey. Trying to add a bird. Yes, she will. Absolutely dialed in as she gets her 8th of the day. I think if there's any other player lining that putt up, they're not finding it. The greens have stymied many, but not the rookie today. Her 6th of the back 9 as well. Remember, 5 minutes ago when I told you it's been the harder of the 2 courses. Don't tell that to Kim Min-bi. Ye-won, Park Ji-young. Almost the exact same second shot to find the middle of the fairway. Leaves Pang Min-ji. .272 and her 5-wood. Well, she's leading her group on the scorecard. She's leading them in driving distance as well. Tied for 5th at 3 under. 4 other players, Park Young-kyung, No Sung-hee at 4 under. No Sung-hee playing on 7 right now, having teed off at 10. Lee Ju-mi, who was our leader for about 2.5 hours, has been surpassed mightily by the mighty rookie, Kim Min-bi, who takes a 3-stroke advantage into the 18th and final hole on this opening day of the MEDIHEAL HANKOOKILBO Championship, live from the Payram Club. Back to 18 we go. EA1, the first of the approach shots, sets the par pretty high. Okay, well, if the bar's pretty high, it's at least an accessible bar to reach, as Bang Min-ji has a near identical approach shot. Two great efforts with the wedge.
치겠습니다.
Bak Ji-young, we await her approach shot. In the meantime, back to the tee. Kim Min-bi going with 5-wood, almost hitting this off the deck. That's teed so low. There we find her in the fairway. It's worked out for her quite well despite a different club selection as we go through the round. 2 under as she began the 10th. Not a bad front nine by any means, but little did we know she was going to kick into a different gear. She starts the West Course with a birdie. That will be a recurring theme here. This one is right up there with the most outlandish putts of the day. Not really any business making that putt work, but she did. Next would be 12, which she'd par, and then back to the par 4s, and back to the birdies. At that point, she had moved into a tie for the lead. Again, she would par the 14th, and she just made these par 4s work, especially on the back nine, lead up to 1. And it would start a run of 3 birdies in a row. This another unbelievable putt on the par 3 16th. And as we saw moments ago, again, outside of about 12 feet, no problem. Only just turned 19 years old, Kim Min-bi. Tied for 30th last week, tied for 30th the first event of the season, the Pacific Links Korea Golf Championship with SBS Golf. Last week, she was well inside the top 10 with a 70 in the final round, despite a 70 the hole prior. She is 8 under on 18 right now. If the past par 5s are any indication, she is online for a par. She has done that through the first 3 par 5s. As we reach the green, Bak Ji-young finds it as well. A long way back as she tries to move under par, but not quite gonna get it there. Round of 72. Things looked really good at the turn. Just couldn't sustain that pace on the back nine. Those back-to-back birdies, 13, 14. Really the undoings for Bak Ji-young. Didn't need to trade clubs off. Kim Min-bi with that 5-wood again. Fairway to fairway, staying on the right side. EA1 is going to give us the final shot for birdie in this group. Bang Min-ji will be the first. So close together they are, where Bang Min-ji is almost stepping on her marker. It's going to move to our right. Didn't really give the chance for the break to kick in. A tap in for another par. She finishes day one tied for 5th with a 69, Bang Min-ji. Min Sung, Lee Ga-young both carding that score. Park Do-eun, who is down to her final 3 holes on the East course, also at 3 under for the moment. One of the many reasons why players have to be at least 90 degrees away so they can't get the read, but no more true than in this instance. We would expect it to be a bit straighter. And this is also going right. So a tap in for a 70 for EA1. A 2 under Thursday and a 10-way tie for 9th by the end of day one. Just couldn't find those birdies on the back 9. Bogey at 17 also dropping her out of the top 5. We'll wrap our coverage up today with the leader. 89 meters her approach. Can she find a 9th birdie today? Well, she's definitely set herself up well to do so. Not a single thing to be able to critique her on in this first round. She has been dialed in from the get-go. Has won a few events on the Dream Tour in her past, but obviously this is a whole different animal on the LPGA Tour of Korea. As we go through the highlights, nice birdie on 3. Then from the rough on 4. It looked like it was going to stay in that rough, but gravity, maybe a bit of luck with other ideas as that rolls inside of about 6 feet. And Park Young makes a back-to-back. Teed off this morning on 10 at 8:25 in the morning. One of the more impressive shots of the day, this eagle. Had been +3. Weren't many causes for celebrations, but the bar is a lot lower for the amateurs. Kim Min-sol. That eagle on 8. Excuse me, on 7. More birdies to report for Park Young. And then this on 2. Catches the perfect part of the green. And then narrowly able to turn that into a birdie from nice and close. This was on 7. Deep in the rough is Park Young, just over 100 meters out. Just little tap to get it the rest of the way up to 4 under. That's where she would finish the day, going on to par the final 2 holes of her round. Not quite the ace, but fantastic ball striking once again from Lee Ga-young to 10. Kick to the left on line, and Kim Min-bye would roll it in. Again, pretty incredible that at that point was only at 3 under. Not that she looked out of it, but she certainly didn't look like she was going to be charging up. And here, speaking of eagles, couldn't ask for better. A kick to the right, bit of a delayed reaction. It's one of the shots of the day, probably the shot of the day for me. Jae Rim. And that long conversion. There were some master classes from Peng Min-ji today. That's right up at the top of the list. Nearly an eagle for her. And more pin seeking on 13, 105 meters out. Just landing a yard or two too deep on the fairway. Otherwise, that slope would have kicked in and probably had her eagle. Kim Min-bye says, okay, see that. Let's see what I can do. Again, they've studied their notes from the practice rounds yesterday on where to play this green. As we showed you moments ago, one of the many birdies on the back 9. She'd have that run of 3 in a row. Show them to you again. Putt's so nice, let's see them twice. 6 under at that point. Taking the outright lead from Ijumi, and at the time, Suni wasn't even that close to the top of the leaderboard. This is probably the most impressive putt downhill, and how quickly it scoots to the right, and she's just the coolest customer out there. Little tip of the visor. Probably one of the best rounds she's played, not in her career, but ever. That's how good the shot making had been. 17. Another putt with a ton of break. You almost have to adopt that attitude in a 4-round event. Been on both sides of the pendulum, the highest highs and the lowest lows. And that brings us to moments ago. Does she have one more trick up her sleeve? It's going to move right. Oh. Well, she's not done yet, folks. Lead's not in jeopardy, but she certainly didn't expect to have that nervy of a par putt. Probably didn't expect to have a par putt at all with how she's been playing. Nice birdie indeed. Well, she is a bit more nerve-wracking style, but able to complete her round bogey-free. Still one of just 2 to have that claim. It is a 64, a remarkable score for anybody, but certainly for the rookie Kim Min-jae. The only real threat to her in that outright lead is No Seung-yi, but she'd need an eagle and a birdie, or an ace and a birdie, to finish the charge up the leaderboard, but still a very impressive round for her. She might have outright second when we take to the air tomorrow, and as we saw, Park Young just the one bogey on the round at the first, which was hole number 10 for her at 4 under. Bang Min-ji, Ha Min-sung, Lee Ga-young, Park Do-eun all tied for 5th at 3 under. Currently 10 players at 2 under, including EA1, Chun Ye-sung, Chi Han-sol, Cho Ha-yeon in that list. 1 under par. Well, it's pretty packed at that score. 16 shooting a 71 or a 71 in progress today. So Yeon Jung, Chae Reem both at that mark and both with eagles on the round. Zimi Jung, Kim Soo-ji, Chae Min-young, Kim A-reem, and Chae A-reem. Kim So-yi, Park Hae-jun also at 1 under. Even par, well, we have an additional nearly 20 players, but 53 at the moment, even or under par, as we take an aerial view of the Payram Club before we bid you adieu. That's it for us today. Hope you enjoyed our coverage of round 1. We will be back on the air tomorrow at the exact same time. That is 2 p.m. Korean Standard Time on Friday. We cut the field down in half. For our entire SBS Golf and Spa crews, Adam Jenkins signing off and saying thank you for joining us, and we will see you tomorrow at this second ever edition of the MEDIHEAL HANKOOKILBO Championship.